Thank you for being here today. I am Ali Merchant, the CEO of Callbotics, and today I'm going to share with you guys a practical and simple blueprint called the ACE loop, which will help you deploy AI agents without the chaos, without the overwhelm, and the long timelines that leaders generally in contact centers experience. But before we get into that, let me share a little bit about myself, about Callbotics, so you guys know that this blueprint is not just a theory, a philosophy, or something that was created out of a whiteboard, but instead it was built by experiencing the realities of contact center for 17 years firsthand. So 17 years ago, I founded a company called AM Infoweb. It basically helps outsourcing companies and enterprises with in-house contact centers set up their operations and scale it. And whatever you guys do on a regular basis, me and my team, we have done it for these 17 years. Now, whether that be opening up offices, setting up floors, hiring, training, managing large teams, the KPI pressures that come with them. And just like you guys, I have also had those long nights where I've been on calls, not been on calls, on the floor, not being able to reach to a family function or my kids' events or a date night. And I have been through all of that. So when I say that what works and what doesn't work in a contact center, it's because I have lived it firsthand with my team, just like you guys have. So, and while we did all of this, right, one thing that we observed was that all these years that there are multiple challenges, but the biggest challenge that we faced as a contact center leader was year on year since 2008 I saw that technology was changing, and the frustration or the challenges that came with deploying it, understanding what works, what doesn't work, how to kind of really make or create value out of that for my organization was the biggest challenge. And in one particular project, everything kind of changed for us. What happened was, one of our customers, they needed a CRM, and this was back in 2015. So we went to the best reputed vendor that was out there. They came in, gave a great presentation, the verbiage, the terminology was very impressive, and then the proposal arrived. And what the proposal said was that it will take 6 months and 95,000 pounds just for the blueprint, not even the product. This is 10 years back, right? I'm sure you guys have also experienced this. And for the final product, what they said was 18 months to build it and £500,000. Sure, the budget was a little heavy, which was fine with us, our client, but the bigger challenge was the timeline. And we knew that instantly, this is not going to work for us, or our customers rather, because our customers, they needed agility, and every future change meant that we had to go back in the same expensive, but more importantly, very, very, very long timelines, right? So that's when we understood that we need to build a team that is meant for contact center leaders, not a tech team which is built by contact center leaders, so it has real impact, but also understands their challenges. Hence, we set up a team internally. Long story short, we built that same CRM just for £15,000. It's been a decade, 10 years now, and still that CRM works, and it works really, really well. And once we built that internal capability, everything changed for us. And for the past 10 years, that tech team has been building these multiple products like CRMs, dialers, workflow tools for our customers. And they provided not only the reliability, but the most important thing, which is applicable in a contact center environment, is the speed to deploy it. And then obviously came the era of AI. And while we did multiple projects, we set up a dedicated, good team just to build voice automation and conversational AI. We started to source the experts globally to build that platform. But we had a duty towards our clients, right? We had to provide the best that was out there, not what just we made. So constantly, while building that platform, we also sourced technology from outside. And we basically, we were basically benchmarking this technology, how it is working, how things are happening. And what we saw during those tests was something what surprised us as well. That the platform, which we called Callbotics, that we had built internally, was performing on use cases 20-30% times better. Meaning it was resolving calls 20-30 times more. And the CSATs were also higher on the queues where we had Callbotics. And since the goal was always been, that we wanted to build products that supported contact center leaders, we understood that it is time that we launch this as a separate or a different company. Because the other company that we had was more like a consulting operations company. And this is like a pure SaaS company. What I mean to say by or convey by all of this is that when we say that our resolution rates are higher, it's because it's not the technology or the platform is not just built by tech leadership, but more of the leadership that we have within the organization are contact center leaders. And hence the technology or the platform is built on small nuances that you and me, we have seen for so many years, which makes the resolution rates so high. And that's why I am here today to share with you this blueprint, because while building that technology, we built that technology and we deployed these multiple external platforms, voice automation as well, we kind of made n number of mistakes. And finally we figured out what was the best way to deploy voice automation. And I'm sure, a lot of you will resonate with this. At least I did for many years, that every time a new technology came in or a new platform came in, there was always this pressure on me to implement it. And also at the end of the day, I had to prove the value to the leaders, to the rest of the team, to my colleagues, everyone. So enters the ACE loop. This is the blueprint that we created, which has three major parts to it. The first is assess, second is configure, and third is elevate. This is the framework that we created, or the blueprint that we created. Assess is basically what we talk about here in assess is about you assess the simplest of the workflows first, and then you put them up for voice automation, not the most complex ones. The second part of it is configure, right? Meaning generally when we talk about configure, we think about integrations and other technology related heavy lifts. But what we mean to say about configure is you have to configure your AI agents and iterate them on real time. The third thing is elevate, which is basically now that you have assessed which workflow to automate, and you have configured your AI agents, it's time to expand those to other workflows, integrate it with your current workflow system or current workflows or tech stack. And most importantly, now that we know what the AI agents are able to do reliably, is when we re-engineer the processes around that. And let's first talk a little about assess. So with assess, as I mentioned, we need to first understand what are the easiest workflows which are very, very much defined, and on top of that, where value can be proved immediately. So the thing that we have observed is a lot of time AI doesn't fail, but the processes around it are so complex that the AI at the first go will take up the most complex use cases. So this is what we figured with all the mistakes that we made, that we should actually take the high volume if possible, but if not, low judgment and repeatable processes, the easiest ones where there will be the least amount of friction. And if that is not possible, the second best option would be those backlog or surge calls that our current teams are not able to handle. And then if even that is not available, go for the after hours or weekend queues where you are understaffed or don't have staff at all. And then you go for, side queues if even that is not available. And what we have observed is that in any contact center, this kind of workflows are easily available. Some of the examples, if I have to share, and probably already identified some within your workflows, on the inbound side, we saw that these simple lookups when people call and they just need some information, or balance check or payment checks. On the outbound side, confirmations, callbacks, voicemail handling. These are the queues where we saw that not only did the internal teams did not mind it, but with that, the customers also were not looking for too much judgment or emotions. They were just looking for updates. And just think of it this way. We a lot of times think that maybe this will not be, they will not be happy with it. But what we have seen is just that feeling. For 10 years, you and me, whenever we have called a queue, either we expect an IVR, a robotic IVR, or we are expecting a long wait, at least 5 to 10 minutes. With this, what happens is suddenly a customer calls and boom, here, they are already talking to someone immediately. And because the agent has all the information integrated within itself, it doesn't have to even read through those documents. They just have the answers. So your AHT also drops tremendously. So that is what assess is all about. Simple, repeatable workflows. And then the second component that we talked about was configure. And when we say configure, it is about every brand has their own unique voice. So figuring out how it speaks, understands the conversation, and very importantly, at what point of time should the AI agent transfer that call to a human with full context. That is the third part, escalate it. And fourth, iterate it on a daily basis once you have deployed it, and improve the AI agent. To give a little more understanding, what I mean to say about this is, let me give you a use case or a case study. Let me talk about that we did with a customer. So they were a benefits administration firm, and they had people calling in, a large contact center. They had people calling in trying to understand what were the benefits they had with their customers, with their employers. What insurance did they have? What sort of premiums did they need to pay? how do they navigate the portal, and any other thing around it. So on a Friday, they reached out to us that we need a few, I think close to 80 to 100 people. We said that we cannot get you, and they wanted to deploy it in 2 days. So we said that we could not do it. We could not get those many people in 2 days. And then we said that you could but use the platform. And they were always hesitant to do so. But once they deployed this, now they had no choice, right? So they said that, okay, let's go ahead and deploy it. So on a Friday, they came to us. They uploaded all the training material they use for their human agents to be trained. Monday, the AI agents were live. The AI agents started taking calls. 45% of the calls on day one, they were able to manage. And then throughout the week, from live calls, they kept fine-tuning those AI agents. Just after 5 days, on such a complex use case, they were automating close to 80% of the calls. Their AHT obviously had dropped. Their CSATs were higher just within that 1 week because they had these active surveys that they were taking over the calls. And in general, maybe they did not used to earlier, but now they were, because they wanted to understand if their CSAT or their customer satisfaction was taking a hit live. But what they observed was that their customer satisfaction grew over a period of time, over that 1 week. Now that the AI agents were configured and they had a lot of confidence, right, is when the leadership was convinced that there is value in this. And more importantly, the human agents, they also saw the value, that they now did not have to take care of repetitive, simple query-based calls, but they could actually focus on the calls that really matter, where they could actually create value and have more satisfying jobs. So next, what they did was they started expanding their to different workflows. Now, over a period of time, they saw that within that workflow, 84% of calls were managed by the AI agents. And because of the location that they were based in, they saw a 78% reduction in their cost as well. So now they shifted to more complex workflows. And in one of the workflows, I remember they had 183 documents, which were basically guides, product infos, SOPs, catalogs, which would give these AI agents, which used to give their human agents, the information that were required to resolve those queries and calls, right? And what happened after that was they kept, going to the next use case. So this is what Elevate is around, going to the expanding that. And then they started also re-engineering the processes. Now that they knew that what the AI agents could reliably handle, the next step was how do they rework the entire operations around it. Because now for example, they understood that within this queue, 95% of the calls are automated. So they moved those people to another queue. They needed a few people to orchestrate the automation. So they started retraining them. They knew that they need to divide a few queues into sub queues to be able to automate at a higher percentage. And that's how they got to that 84%. So that's what they started. And the beautiful thing about this ACE loop is that it is a constant framework. You go from one workflow to other workflow, one queue to other queue, assess simple workflows, assess, what can be automated, what are the metrics that show you that results are delivered, CSAT is increasing, the AHT is decreasing, those kind of things. And then obviously, configure those AI agents for those particular use cases and queues, and then obviously, keep expanding them. So they kept repeating it. At this point of time, earlier, they had adopted this just from a thought process that they need to, take care of a burning firefighting situation. But today they have deployed it across everywhere, and their agents and leadership couldn't be happier. So to sum it up, what we have observed in this 17 years making mistakes while deploying and creating this AI agents is that the contact centers that win won't be the most automated. They will be the most that are adaptive, because every contact center, every use case, every workflow is very unique, and that we have to keep in mind and accordingly start adapting it, because if not today, we have to do it tomorrow. I remember when we started off and IVRs were the new thing, we ourselves, me myself as the CEO of the company, I pushed back for some point of time, and then we had to lose a lot of customers, because eventually everyone, like today IVR is not no more like a new thing, right? Same way, in what we have seen with our customers is that AI agents is not a new thing to most of them right now. They're just automating as much as they can. The other thing about is that within these 30 minutes, obviously there is this very basic level, or at a superficial level I can share regarding the blueprint, right? And as a contact center, fellow contact center leader, I would want you guys also to spend more time with your families, not firefighting, staying on calls. So even if you work with someone else, or you already have or are still not thinking of deploying AI agents, but what we will do for you is, if you stop by at our stand M66, we can create a specialized, tailored, detailed document that will resonate with your workflows, and you can basically take that back to your team and automate, or at least start evaluating what you can automate when it comes to your voice cues. And that will just be give you a more resilient, faster, and more cost effective and more happier agents operations. Thank you so much.